Barbershop Chronicles. And as you've seen in our last segment, we were featuring writers. And we're going to feature those writers again. I have them here again. I have Terry Robinson, I have Deshaun Huey, and I have my buddy here. Give them your name.
Ron Beckett, also known as Rahleek.
Okay. And y'all know me, I'm G, Gerald from It's a G Thing, the hottest barbershop in the land, with the best barbers, the best of everything. But we're here today at Barbershop Chronicles, as we always do. We're going to talk about issues that are going on in the barbershop. And we're gonna tackle three important events, because as we know, we just had the presidential election. And to many surprise, you know, my man Donald Trump won. As I told people, Trump was going to win anyways. But, you know, no one believed me, so Trump actually won. And so the community is in somewhat of an uproar. And my man Terry, he's written a book called Athlete Transition Stress. And, you know, my man Deshaun here, he's written what's called They Made You a Sissy. You know, and this is my good man here, Ronald. You know, he's just a nice spiritual brother from the barbershop. We go way back. We went to school together. We grew up in the same community. So he's playing a role in Barbershop Chronicles today. Also, he's an HVAC contractor. So if your heat or your air conditioning ain't working, check him out, because maybe he can help. He's out of St. Louis now, but now he's back here in Connecticut to do a job. And so we're going to get Barbershop Chronicles started. And what I want to do, Terry, I want to ask you a question. You know, with the transition that our community is going to have to make as it relates to the presidential election, and reading your book, you know, Athlete Transition of Stress, I noticed that a lot that you have written applies to what's going on now, in that there's information in your book that could help individuals transition into this new administration, this new America that may actually be a throwback of what America once was, for the lack of a better word, making America so-called great. So tell me, let's talk about your book, and how do you see what you wrote about in your book and how it can be of use to individuals?
Well, that's, you know, bottom line is we're always transitioning one way or another. The book is the title is Athlete Transition Stress, but it's really about transition stress, period.
Right.
When you lose a job, when you lose a loved one, when you lose the presidency, you're going through a transition.
Yes.
You're going to go through a transition, and some of them are more difficult than others.
I need to stop you a second. Listen, Hillary Rodham Clinton, if you happen to be watching Barbershop Chronicles, I want you to know you need to pick up Terry's book, because if I understood correctly, you were crying. You actually collapsed, and a good thing that Bill was there to hold you. And you transitioning real hard. I know we haven't seen you in the media. You did peep a couple times this week, but what you can do is you can pick up my man's book at www.latgroup1.com, or you can get it on Amazon, because I'm telling you, Miss Clinton, you know, my condolences, because, I mean, you were celebrating before things were even happening. And you guys know we have a tendency to celebrate before times. We anticipate things are going to happen when we haven't really, you know, come to summation. We just, I'm celebrating because I'm going to win. And so, yeah, that's a good one. You lose elections. So, Deshaun, you know, as he talks about, I know you haven't read his book, but you've written your book. And your book talk about role reversal. And as we think about it, Hillary's role is really reversed, because she was actually thought she was going to be president. So she's going to have to reverse her role to become a wife again and a regular citizen. So what are you thinking about the election and what has taken place?
I think it's scary. I think that Donald Trump, you know, you said it, make America great again. Donald Trump played the race card. And, you know, we don't say it when we talk about white people, but that's exactly what he did. He played the race card, and people came out in great numbers, because he won states that he wasn't supposed to win. They came out in great numbers to vote for him. And what my concern is that we're uninformed about ourselves and about our past, that this is not the first time. You know, I talked about it before. President Jackson, he came in and he changed laws around after Reconstruction and made us slaves again. And so my concern is that his first step is going to be to erase everything that President Obama did. That's the first thing he's going to do. And they're going to create laws that will, again, prohibit the black man. And so I have a big concern that if we're not awake, if we don't realize that, if we don't contest these things, if we don't show up in great numbers and great droves, and we're going to have to reach out not just to ourselves, we're going to have to reach out to across the world. People have to see us and say, this is what's going on. And we need to be a part of what they're doing, because I think we're in serious trouble.
Okay, well, I look at it from a little different perspective because, I tell people a lot that, when they talk about slavery and the Emancipation Proclamation, which was signed 1863 and then again in 1865, and what I like to try to tell all people is that, Abraham Lincoln, he never freed the slaves. So when people are walking around talking about we're going to be made slaves again, we're all still slaves, because what Lincoln did was he never freed the slaves, but he made everybody slaves to the wealthy. Because my theory is that when they freed the slaves, all they did was gave the wealthy people more leverage to pay the poor whites less money to do what they were doing, because now they had to compete against a former slave who was getting nothing. Now that slave had to get something, which brought the wage down. So now you have the former slave and the poor whites now at each other's throat, because the wages are being kept low, because you have a former slave and then a poor white who was nearly working for nothing pre-slavery. And then now you fast forward to 2016, you have it where they're saying that the immigrants are coming in, they're working for nothing, they're bringing the wage down. The country is being outsourced and all of these things. So I think that in Donald Trump's victory, what we have to do is we have to step back and look at the totality of what's happening. Because I agree that there is a lot of racial undertone and things that are taking place. When you look at the people who he's appointing to office, people who have not historically been in the corner of black people. And, because we had a black president, a lot of people are apprehensive about talking about black president, black people moving forward. Because remember, in 2008, we arrived. A black man was elected president, and that erased racism. That's what we were supposed to believe. But as you see now in this present election, I think that the country came back, because you say that Donald Trump, he played the race card. I don't think that Donald Trump actually played the race card. The race card was already being played when Mitch McConnell and those guys met and said that everything that this man proposes, we're going to object to. So the race card was already in motion, and you saw the rallying of the Tea Party and all of these things. The only thing was, I believe that Donald Trump embraced it. He embraced it to be victorious. So I know Rob, you here. Oh, Rob is one of our homeboys. Yeah. But Ron,
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I certainly believe that. It is said that Donald Trump actually pre-campaigned before the actual campaign, and he galvanized a campaign prior to that, and that was the catalyst that really pushed everything. I believe the election of Donald Trump has everything to do with the 2 and 3% controlling all of the wealth.
Right, definitely.
When you say that, what do you mean?
Controlling the wealth. Well, here in America, this has been going on for a few hundred years. The 2 and 3% has been controlling all of the wealth in this country.
You think that because he got the votes not from the 2 or 3%. That's not who gave him the votes. It was the poor whites,
electoral
the middle class. So you think he's going to now turn around and say, I don't need you anymore?
Well, we know that they're voted in. It has everything to do with the electoral votes. So the people, the wealthy, that influence the people that make, that place the electoral votes, again, we're the ones that are the ones that are behind this maintaining this wealth. here in America, and not just here, but globally too. I mean, look at what happened with this in 2006, this global economical situation that we were in. That was created. It was a global economic financial situation that happened here.
Because see when you know, like I tell people all the time, they say George Bush, the son. They say he was the worst president ever. He costed jobs and all of those things. I defend him to say that I believe that he was a terrible president, and I believe that he made some very terrible moves. But he's not responsible for the crash of the economy. The reason the economy crashed is because one, industries no longer exist. We have to look at it for what it is. Donald Trump went to the coal people talking about coal and fossil fuel. These people want to run a pipeline through America. Listen, those things are no longer relevant. You cannot bring back coal. How many people burning coal in their homes? There are no more coal jobs. Right now, Southern Bell, Southern New England Telephone, those corporations going out of Western Bell, all of them, where are they? Gone. Where's your phone? Anybody got their phone on them?
We all do.
Where's your phone?
It's my pocket.
Where's your phone?
My pocket.
Everybody's phone is in their pocket. So that technology is eliminating jobs. I happened to go to a McDonald's in which they had six people can be served at once. And I'm like, the McDonald's looks funny. And so I get to the window, get the food, and it's like an ATM thing. I paid my money, I made my order, and so I get the food, and the lady informs me that this is a test, that there are 2 of them inside of the McDonald's. So now they're gonna computerize or automate McDonald's such that you need 2 people to run them. So now you're gonna be running McDonald's, you'll be paying $15 an hour like they want, but now it'll be $30 an hour to run McDonald's. Now turn that $1 billion machine to produce more revenue. So now, do you blame McDonald's or the president, or do you blame us not keeping with the times of what we need to do? Because back to Terry's book and transitional stress. We're gonna talk about the transitional stress piece, and what Terry talks about is the transition. The transitional stress. I mean, everybody's transitioning. Everyone's trying to transition into something, out of something. But the thing is, how do you transition? How do you transition when McDonald's is about to agree to a $15 minimum wage, but now instead of 30 people working in McDonald's, they're gonna have 2 people working in McDonald's. So the other 28, how do they transition to know that there are no unskilled jobs there for them? How do you position yourself to be successful? That's why at our Institute of High-End Groomers, in which we groom individuals for success, we talk about the monetization of self. How do you see the value in you, in yourself, that someone sees in you? Because everyone who has a job because someone sees value in them. But the issue is that someone sees a value in them that they don't see in themselves. And how do you begin to see value in yourself? How do you begin to see the necessary portals to success or roads to success that you can travel if you do the right thing? And I don't want to dominate it. I know Deshaun, I saw you over here twitching. You want to say something. So I want you to go ahead and...
I mean, there are a lot of things that you said. I mean, technology is a part of life and you have to transition. I listened to what you said about McDonald's, but somebody has to create those computer systems. Now, you have to transition your skill set. But that's a part of life. That's going to happen no matter what. So, I mean, and that's where we're at. I mean, we don't... it used to be a time where we were talking about computers where everything was in a big mainframe, and now it's on your desktop. I mean, that's life. It's going to change. You mentioned the phone companies. Our phones are in our pockets. We don't need Bell South or those companies. We got T-Mobile and AT&T and Sprint. We don't need them anymore. Right. So that's part of life. That doesn't mean that you're out of the market. It means you have to transition your skills. You have to keep adapting.
Right.
It's about diversity. I mean, Barack Obama talked about retooling the workforce. That's what he was talking about. Retooling the workforce, re-educating. The jobs, the future of the job market, as far as technology and these technological jobs and going to school to be able to, fill in those positions.
Just listening, because all the stuff you guys are talking about is right on the money. But we're talking about transitioning and through these different changes with technology. We got to create more buzzwords. When we start talking about transition, because I think it's a consciousness too, because so many things that we have going on lull us to sleep. Like the media, the radio. So you never really get to where you need to be. And so when you do become conscious, you realize that you're behind. We got to catch up. How do we catch up? And part of the reason why we do not transition is because we're stuck. And that's because it's intentional. We want you to lag behind because, like you said, the 2 to 3%, they know what time it is. They're not sitting in front of the TV right now watching the game. They're not doing that. They out handling business right now while you're asleep because they know eventually you're going to wake up. Eventually, but while you're asleep, I better capitalize on this opportunity. That's what they're doing. And I think that, and going a little bit back to the election, I think that's what happened with the Donald Trump situation. People fell asleep.
Yes.
Yep.
And woke up the next day shocked because we went to bed knowing she got this. She knew that.
Yeah.
And woke up, lulled to sleep.
Yeah.
You look at that map, it was all red.
Oh,
I've never seen that.
listen, I got up to go to the bathroom, right? It was about 4:20. I remember that it was 4:20, and on the television, I saw the map. And, I joked a lot in the barbershop about, supporting Donald Trump because I just like to spark conversation and just, a lot of times, you can say you support Donald Trump and a customer who's about to leave, now he would stay to argue about Donald Trump. And so now I'm trying to cut faster so I can make more money because now I got him to stay. You understand? And so, I would do little things like that. So to wake up that morning and, after 4 and I saw it and I shook my wife. I said, hey, he really won. And I didn't believe that he could do it, but when you look back on it, Donald Trump said something that, my buddy Eric and I, we talk about, is he talking about, you can't quit, you never give up. He said that when Mitt Romney was within striking distance of President Obama, the media said that there's never in history has a candidate been that far behind and with that short period of time been able to catch up and win. So he said that Mitt Romney quit when he said Mitt Romney should have started pushing harder. And so what Donald Trump said was while she was partying with Jay-Z, Beyonce, the Boss, and Bon Jovi, he said he was pushing. The day before the election, that Trump jet was in 5 different cities. And they were mocking him because they said he was in the hills and the sticks. And what was he doing up there? He was mobilizing his people.
Absolutely.
His lady, his campaign manager, she said in one state they registered 33,000 people, but they didn't say anything. They registered people, good Americans that some of us will call hillbillies. Went and got them, said, come on, man, come on and vote, man. And not even if it was so much about race, but the dissatisfaction, when you look at the number of African Americans that voted for Trump, the number of Latinos, with all of the things he said about Latino, he got nearly 30% of that vote.
I don't believe that was an accurate count, though.
Well, no, it may not have been accurate, but what count is accurate? That he won.
He definitely won.
So what's going on in the country that a man like Trump, who could talk about grabbing a woman by the crotch and punch him in the face, get him out of here? How could a guy like that win? What is it about a man like Donald Trump that we know knows nothing about politics, nothing about running the government?
Or foreign policy.
Yeah,
That's why I think it's about race. That's why I disagree with you. I do think it's about race. There's a lot of things that have been said.
Without question.
There's
I
no
believe
doubt
it's
about
about race.
that we need to wake up. We are definitely asleep. We're definitely watching the idiot box way too much. Now, I disagree. I do want to watch a football game, but I'm talking about the regular stuff that's on TV every day. Yeah, we're watching it all day instead of picking up a book and reading. There's a joke about a black man that said, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book, you'll never read it. And that's what we're doing. We are asleep. I think the election was based upon race.
Yes.
I think that's what he galvanized. His key supporters are Klan members. He won't even disavow David Duke. He doesn't know who he is. The whole world knows who David Duke is, but you're the only one in the world that doesn't know who he is. You don't want to disavow him. You don't want to disavow him because you want his support. And so I do think it has a lot to do with race.
And look at his involvement with Vladimir Putin in Russia. The guy that ran campaigns for Russians in Russia. So there's a lot behind it.
But see, the thing is, when we talk about racial issues as it relates to black and white, black people need to realize that we play a specific role in this society, and only we are believing that it's equal. Because see, when Trump talks about make America great again, when he talks about race matters and you're saying he played the race card, the thing is, did we ever believe that they wouldn't play the race card? Because let's look at it realistically. Let's look at, had Hillary Clinton won, all of the black people are upset. They come in the barbershop, oh, Hillary didn't win. Oh, we wish Hillary had won. What difference would it have made for us as a people had Hillary won? What did Donald Trump say, which was true? Look at the condition that black people are living in America. When are we going to decide that it's up to us to pull us out of our predicament? Because no disrespect to our Asian brothers, our Hispanic brothers, or them Dominican, whatever they are. But if you look, when people were coming to the new world, you know what the opportunity was? The opportunity was the black man as your slave was going to make you wealthy. Today, 2016, people are coming to America. Guess who the opportunity is? The opportunity is in the urban ghettos throughout America. Go set up your Chinese food store. Go set up your little corner bodega. Go set up your little ranch house, your pizzeria. Everyone feeds off the blood of the black man.
I agree with that.
And black people, we look outside of ourselves for growth of self. And now Hillary Clinton, let's talk about Hillary. Because I wasn't a supporter of Hillary, or I didn't like any of them. But one thing that I said is that what I like about Donald Trump is a racist. And Donald Trump is man enough to tell me, I don't like you. So you know what? I know how to deal with Donald Trump. I can take my three brothers right here and my brother over there, and I say, y'all know what? They planning for us, but we got a plan for them. Because see, what Donald Trump them don't understand is that this ain't the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. Because let them come down here into the hood. You understand? Because, hey, let's go back to Chicago. Remember, they had to cancel that Trump rally out there in Chicago. Why? Because the police were afraid and told the Trump organization, hey, we can't protect you. And Trump said, I'm coming anyways. And what did the police tell him? Well, if you come, you on your own. Why? Because it's a different time in America. And we as a people, we have to wake up. Last year, we spent $1.3 trillion on what? We're too fixated because see, when you talk about athlete stress, athlete transitional stress, because I love my man Terry's book. I love that book, man, because I'm reading that book and, being a psychology man myself and, reading the book and I'm just putting, I'm thinking about, the passing of my mother, the passing of my father and the true transitioning into the role of being a man where I no longer call on my mother, no longer call on my father. Thinking about those things, how in that book got me to think. I think, I'm a businessman, but I think I'm somewhat of an okay intellectual. But I saw the inspiration in the book such that reading the book, I said, you know what, G, you got to get on top of your game. You have to transition. You have to cross over. Your mother's gone and your father's gone. A lot of time I find myself holding on to that. I find myself, looking to dreams to see my mother, to see my father, well, you know what? I got to do the things that I got to do. And black people have to do the things that they have to do. Because when Hillary Clinton, when you talk about opportunity and the black man, and I was saying that people come because we had an opportunity, they privatized the prison, sold them to their friends, then implemented the 94 crime bill, and then got Dr. Diallo from Princeton University to write that dissertation or thesis about the super predator, and packaged the black man up such that we could use him to make money off him, re-enslave him, put him in jail. Because you saw 13, right?
I heard, I haven't seen it all.
Well, you gotta see 13. 13 talks about that 13th Amendment. We just recently in the movie theater had Birth of a Nation.
I saw that.
You understand? But have you seen the real Birth of a Nation?
The real one was about the Klan.
And that's the one that you need to watch.
I saw that too, 1915.
You understand?
You made some good points though. The thing that we haven't addressed though is, I agree with you, it's the black man's fault. Our predicament is our fault. But what are we doing about it? We talk about it, we never do anything about it. You're right. They come right into our community, they set up shops. It's in the book. I mean, I wrote in the book about how we buy our hair products from Asians. There's no Asians that have relaxers, Afro picks, anything like that. But if you go get your hair product today, you go to an Asian man to get it, and you're going to be followed around that store, mistreated, and you can go back again there the next day.
Yep, and spend your money.
You're right. They come right into our neighborhood, they make money off us. But the problem is, what are we doing about it, and how do we get to that predicament? That's what the issue is, and that's what I tried to touch on in my book. We're in a situation where we're not talking about what's really going on. And we're looking at everybody else. Yeah, you're right. Donald Trump, we can say whatever we want to say about Donald Trump. We do have to do something for ourselves. Exactly. There's no doubt about that the issue is ours, and what are we going to do? But we're so far behind as a people. I mean, we hate it. I feel this way about ourselves. We hate ourselves. I feel that way. I said this to a young man the other day. I don't like the word nigga. I don't use the word nigga. I never use it. If I call you a nigga, use a nigga. I don't use the word nigga. Because I feel like the term using the word nigga, first you have to understand what it meant. It's meant to put you down as less than a man.
Right, demean you.
To demean you. And if I think of you as a nigga, first of all, if I'm calling you a nigga, I think I'm a nigga. Because you look like me. So I'm calling you a nigga, that means I think I'm a nigga. And because I think that I'm a nigga and I think you a nigga, I'll do anything to you. That's why it's easy to kill each other. Because you think you're a nigga. He's a nigga, I'll kill that nigga. You ain't killing no white man. You ain't going in any neighborhood doing nothing, but you'll kill one of us in a minute. So I don't use that word, but that's our mentality. We think that way.
Well, what I like to say, and what I know to be true is the essence of the problem stems from this. It has everything to do with the black man being taken from knowledge of self. It has everything to do with knowledge of self, God, and the universe. The black man and black woman lacks knowledge of self, God, and the universe, which is one and the same. Our purpose for even being born in this life has everything to do with God. Our reason for being has everything to do with spirituality, and not even from a religious perspective. If we don't have knowledge of self, we don't value self. If we don't have knowledge of God and know the importance of God, and we haven't implemented that in our teachings in reference to family, that very foundation is we're detached from that. It is that we need, because it is that allows us to be connected consciously, not just with ourselves, but with the Most High. We are a conscious people. We are a spiritual people. Spirituality and consciousness, there are 7 levels of consciousness. There are 7 states of consciousness. And most religion doesn't even begin to even connect or even teach on that. The pastors, the rabbis, the preachers, these are the important things that need to be implemented. This true knowledge of self that truly connects us with God and who and what we are, that connects us with this planet Earth, that connects us with nature, is what is missing. We're detached from that.
In 1712, on the banks of the James River in Virginia, the slave owner Willie Lynch delivered his infamous speech on how to control the black slaves for life. Through skin tone, dark skin versus light skin, and light skin versus dark skin. Through age, old black males versus young black males, and young black males versus old black males. But his doctrine for complete dominance, the final act, was through role reversal. Now, over 400 years later, too many black men and women are doing just what Lynch prescribed, abandoning their natural gender roles and leaving themselves in a state of dependency. They've allowed themselves to become slaves of a different kind, mental rather than physical. They Made You a Sissy takes you step by step through the process of how today's black men and women have allowed themselves to be broke down emotionally and psychologically through role reversal. It explains how young black boys raised by single mothers become caught in a trap of entitlement, with no idea how to act like men. And it shows how young black girls with no father figures take on the roles of men, never learning how to be women. Holding nothing back and written in powerful language, this explosive book tackles one of the gravest problems facing the black community, the final act of destruction.
Sports is a common denominator in the lives of people everywhere. Our celebration of sports creates an environment that gives athletes an amazing experience that enhances their lives. Athletes work long and hard to be the best at that thing that gives them so much elation. But what happens after the athlete is done? When a circumstance comes up and they're no longer able to play that sport? Whether it's the high school athlete who doesn't get that scholarship to go to the next level, or the college athlete that doesn't get picked in the draft, or even the professional athlete who now has to retire and find something else to do day to day. Many athletes struggle with this transition from competition to regular everyday life. This transition causes trauma, and that trauma often leads to depression, anxiety, anger, and even health issues. Author Terry Robinson noticed this problem and researched it and came up with the book, Athlete Transition Stress. This book deals with the subconscious programming and conditioning that goes on in an athlete's mind while participating in a sport. So if you or anyone you know are dealing with these issues related to transitioning from a sport, pick up the book, Athlete Transition Stress, and share your story in our global community online at www.letgroup1.com. Athlete Transition Stress is available on Amazon.com and on the LET Group website at www.letgroup1.com.
Welcome back. We want to thank our sponsors for having us be here. But and as we were saying, we're going to continue where we left off. And we're going to talk with Deshaun a little more about that Willie Lynch letter. So I want you to talk about the Willie Lynch and how it relates to the black relationship between the man and the woman. And with what we're dealing with today, how is that going to compound our success?
Well, the letter is designed for complete dominance and the destruction of us. That's what the letter is designed for. And the letter, again, people talk about the skin color and the skin tone and age versus old age versus young age, but the real key piece in that letter was the emasculation and the ruining of the black man and putting the black woman in front. That's the key, and that's what we've seen. That's what's going on. It's not just it's a state of mind that we're conditioned in, that we've been conditioned to. And so if you look at what the letter is saying, it's saying put so much fear in that woman's heart that she's afraid for her son. And she will teach her son to be weak, to stand back so she can take care of this. Because they might kill you. She's teaching her daughter to be strong and be independent.
Yes.
So she doesn't need a man. And you come forward today, 2016, you're in a situation where that's been going on forever. Yes. And so now you got a situation where I'm a man, I don't want to be with a woman that thinks like a man.
Absolutely.
I'm not gay. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anything wrong with gay people, but I'm not gay. I don't want some woman who thinks like a man, who has the attributes of a man, who feels that way. I don't want to be that. And that's what we're seeing today. You see a lot of black men, particularly successful black men, they don't want to be with a black woman. I mean, it's not a secret.
I noticed in your book, you had if I recall correctly, I guess an individual went and married a Dominican woman.
Oh, he came back. This was a professor out of college. He was in the Dominican Republic on vacation. Just took some time off and met a woman over there. And yeah, he as a guy talk, he was having a good time with her. And so he's back, and we're at this upscale lounge. This is a black upscale lounge. Plenty of black women in there, attractive women. And he's talking about her, and he's going on and on about how great she was. And so I finally said, man, dude, man, she probably was a hooker. That's usually what they are over there. And he said, yeah, I know, but I'm thinking about marrying her. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, she's a hooker. He's like, nobody would know in the United States. And the problem that got me when I started talking, I said, this guy would rather marry a hooker from Dominican Republic than any of these black women in here. That's a powerful statement.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful statement. I don't want to be with them. And and in the book we talked about, there was 3 of us there. So one of them was vice president of the insurance company, one was a college professor, one was an engineer. None of them had black women. None of them. The vice president of the insurance company, he was married to a black woman, and he just does not have anything to do. He married a Latina woman. And he talked about how he doesn't want to be on TV. He said there's a reason why great athletes, successful athletes, don't marry black women. They don't want to be involved with all the drama. And he went on to say is that you don't even see, when you see famous black men on TV with black women, they're always in the news for some fighting or something's going on. But you never see it when they're married to a white woman. You never see it when they're married to a Latina woman. You never see it when they're married to an Asian woman. It's only when they're married to our own kind. He didn't want to be involved with that. Wow. And he said a lot of things. He talked about how he can come home to a cooked meal. It's not a fight. They're not arguing about what she doesn't do.
In defense of our black woman, my baby, she cooks all the time. No, seriously.
I'm not saying that's all black women.
I know that's not all black women, but I hear what you're saying because, again, this is Barbershop Chronicles, and it's based off what we do in the barbershop. And I hear a lot of men talking about, yesterday, I had 4 engineer guys, American, 3 Nigerians. And then, there was another guy too. He was Jamaican. His parents were Jamaican, and so only one had a black woman. And the conversation was like all of the things that they talked about. And I was like, wow, they don't have black women like that. And I told myself, shoot, I got my wife. She cooks. She does all of those things. But one thing that I will say, she probably get mad, but yeah, she's a little barky. When you have a professional black woman and they're making money, sometimes it's hard to be a man. And you struggle for that position to be that man. And a lot of men struggle with that. And so when I was reading that in your book, I mean, it kind of hit home. I was like, wow, this is awakening. And, as you see to be successful, you see all of those things. And so I know, Terry, give us some of your insight on it.
Well, I'm sitting here listening to the conversation and we're talking about solutions, and part of the solution is understanding that you have been programmed, conditioned. Absolutely. Because we're talking about, successful black men marrying white women in particular. Now, all of us know that. How did we come to that conclusion? It's because we've been programmed. We see that all the time. We don't see the opposite of that. So this becomes a program. If we take a computer and there's a program on that computer or a virus, we have to do something about that. How do we do that? How do we change? What do we have to do? We have to change the program. Absolutely. But changing the program is not as simple as it sounds. Right. And that goes all the way back to the Willie Lynch letter. That was all programming, conditioning.
There you go.
Years of conditioning. Yeah. So if I've been conditioned for 100 or 400 years, how many years would it take for me to change the program?
400
Especially when they're doing it in a different way.
Right.
Now, because the programming is still going on.
Yes.
And we're not conscious of that program that's going on.
That's the problem. We're not awake.
Let me say this. That programming which you're talking about, it's not just the black man. It's the black man that's being targeted. He's the target, the black man and black woman. But it's the entire population all over the planet. 85% of the population on this earth is deaf, dumb, and blind to the true truth and what is really happening. There's a super reality and then there's an illusion. People can't discern the difference from illusion and reality. See, success has nothing to do with monetary value or material things. True success has everything to do with God making the universe. It's about having knowledge of self. That's success. Once you gain that, your success in whatever you do come in abundance. You see? And people unite culturally. But the many systems and the many governments all over the world have programmed people. And all the religions that were ever created on this planet, hence the word religion, it's a re of something that was. It's a re of what is a legion. All of it was created for a reason. Now, there's truth in all the religions. What one needs to do is there's a word called primordial tradition. Primordial tradition is the study of our religions. Pastors, imams, they study it. It's important to know who we are. It's important to know who God is. It is important to know why we are even born in this life. Our purpose has everything to do with the hierarchy. Our purpose has everything to do with the heavens. It's about, in religion, it's about recreating, or not necessarily recreating, but carrying on the legacy of the hierarchy, carrying on the legacy of the heavens, which is, if you trace the etymology of the word heaven, it's the Briatic world. We are divine beings. We're made in God's likeness. We are divine beings. Our ancestry have everything to do with the angelic world, the heavens, the Elohims. That's who we are. That's who we are.
Going back to what Terry said about the program and solutions, we do have to start. And you know, one of the things you can do start doing is, let's put that TV down and let's buy our books.
Absolutely.
Terry wrote a good book.
Absolutely.
I wrote a pretty decent book. Let's start there.
Absolutely.
We need to, and I'm serious about that. We need to put the TV down. I mean, you need to cut your child's limit on how much TV they're going to watch. You might say you could watch 2 hours a week. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 shows, half an hour show, and that's it.
Yes.
Make them read a book.
Absolutely.
Get them to focus on something else. We need to teach our daughters about what it is to be a woman, teach our son what it is to be a man,
Yes.
and not have them think that it's okay to just have a baby out of wedlock. Because it's really not.
It really
You're
is.
doing a disservice to that child.
Absolutely.
It's not natural. And we're the only people that's really doing that. And you talk about the reprogramming, we can start today. But we have to be committed. Our values have to change. Those $150 pair of Jordans ain't gonna do a single thing for you. Not a single thing for you. But that $10 book that you brought will last you for a lifetime.
Lifetime.
And we don't realize that.
Priceless.
A lifetime.
It's ironic that you would talk about the $150 Jordans. In Terry's book, he talked about a young man that he was working so hard he ran out of his shoes. And then the guy taped his shoes up. Terry, you tell the story.
Yeah, it was actually one of my teammates. And, you know, and this was in college. You know, if you could have given us a new pair of shoes every day, we would have did it. But this guy refused to put on a new pair of shoes. The coach would beg him, go get a new pair of shoes. And he had an experience when he was in high school. You know, they were poor, and he was playing a basketball game and tore out of his shoes. Everybody laughed at him, the stands, the coaches, and they said, just go take them up. Taped them up, came back and finished the game. We talked about this and we laughed about this 20-something years later, but it still hurts. And I told him that I wrote the story in the book, but I didn't use his name, and he said, thank you. Thank you. So still, that one experience as a teenager still shakes him. He's only 50 years old today.
Wonderful.
And see, the thing is, when you go back to that story and about, you know, although it's not a long period of time, but that was years ago, he should have been over that. But it's still affecting him today. He still hasn't transitioned from the situation that he was in. Because I noticed in the story where you said that even in college, you know, he didn't care about shoes. He had adapted to mediocrity, meaning that, you know, these are the shoes that I'm just going to have. You know, like me, I have a lot of shoes. Why? Because when I grew up as a kid, we didn't get a lot of shoes. My, we would, I have 7 brothers. You grow into the shoes and you being near the bottom, it's always a pair of shoes waiting for you. Sometimes you put a little cardboard, we were poor. So now, today we joke about me not wanting to crease my shoes. Why? Because, but no, that's all a part of you talking about that whole transition thing. And, just so in reading that book and seeing that piece where he talked about the guy running out of his shoes, and then me today coming down the stairs like an old man hobbling, where there's nothing wrong with my feet. The sole purpose is I don't want my shoes creased, because you know what, the kids used to tease me about, oh man, you got an old man, you got your brother old raggedy sneakers on. And the reality was, you know what, they weren't that brother's raggedy sneakers. There were 3 brothers before that raggedy sneakers. And so the thing is, as a people, when we think about Willie Lynch and we think about all of the things that's taken place, when we think about the relationship with our wives, with our women, it's important that people pick up these books, because in these books are the keys to release the shackles on the mind, as it relates to relationship, as it relates to, transitioning from one phase to another phase in your life. And what I would say is, this is one of the best Barbershop Chronicles that we've shot to date, because, a lot of times when we have Barbershop Chronicles, we're more joking and we're talking about serious issues, but not issues of depth of what we're dealing with here today. Because, there was a time, pre-integration, God was number one in the black homes. People loved God. They did, everything was designed around God, or their understanding of who God was.
God was the center of everything.
And today, how many of us teach our children about God? How many of us pray to God and thank God for what he has done for us? Because we're reaching a point now where a lot of people are saying, there ain't no God, man, that stuff is foolishness. Because science is becoming so great. But again, if you go back in history, if you go back to ancient Africa, science, they give the Greeks credit, for all of the science, but we know they got it from Africa. If you read Stolen Legacy, it tells you, when I was in college, the reason I didn't pledge, I wanted to be a Q dog because I just liked the brothers, I had some muscles and all of that, and I figured that's the fraternity for me. But, in reading books like Stolen Legacy, there was no way an African could ever be a Greek. And so I said that I wasn't going to disrespect my dead ancestors by paying homage to thieves who took knowledge to deprive me of a knowledge of self, and say that Plato, Socrates, Descartes, Aristotle, Pythagoras, all of these guys created this science and math that they actually stole from the black people.
Well, let's say this. This is a fact. Socrates, Plato, and Pythagoras, they called the Greek gods, studied under the Egyptians in Heliopolis. The Egyptians said they had to study for more than 30 years to become enlightened. That enlightenment in what they were studying back then, we call today Masonry. That's arcana. Okay? They had to study for more than 30 years to become illuminated.
And the thing is, when you talk about that, what gets me is, like the Masons, the Shriners, they say this stuff is a secret, but they were hiding the secret from us. Exactly. They were hiding the secret that, dude, this is who you are. You taught us, you freed us. Absolutely. You came into the hills of Europe. Europe, where the savages were. They were, the abominable snowman, Grizzly Adams. And so all of those things, as we talk about solutions and what we do, we're going to have, under this Trump administration, we're going to have serious discussions. We're going to have to sit down with our wives. We're going to have to sit down with our family, because it's simple to say, you saw all of those people pour into the street after Trump had won. But the reality is, God is in control of everything.
Absolutely. God
intended for Trump to win because it's necessary for Donald Trump to reinstate the black man and woman. Because I love all people, but my first love is black people. Because I'm a black man. My son is black, my wife is black, my daughter is black. Hell, I got 2 black and brown dogs. You understand? They got a little white on them, but for the most part, and the thing is, we have to look at the realities that the only way we are going to get out of this situation is, like Trump said, when he talks about making America great again, when I first heard that, and I went back to that time, and when he talked about America being great, I saw a lot of greatness in America. The only issue was the color line, because during that time period, guess what? They had black hospitals, they had black pharmacists, they had black, everything was black banks, black insurance companies, just black business thriving. And the only thing that wasn't there for black people was the ability to sit, eat, and lay with white people. So when you look at the condition that we are in today, would you not trade that all if all we had to give up was laying with white people? Because we all have friends who are Caucasian, good people. But the reality is, when we see what President-elect Trump is putting in position, we can't forget the history of this country. We can't forget the journey of the black man, because remember, we didn't come here on the Nina, the Pinta, or the Santa Maria. We came here in the hulls of slave ships. We came here as opportunity for people. And in 2016, again, was still opportunities for people. So people need to look into how they're going to transition out of this position that they are in. They need to look into role reversal. I mean, you gotta seriously look into, read Terry's book about, let's forget about the athlete piece for right now, but let's look at it from the transitional stress piece. How many of us are transitioning for something? How many of us are trying to transition out of a situation? How many of us are stuck in an illusion, as the brother pointed out, and we don't see that illusion? How many of us are having role reversal with our children? Are you raising your daughter to the point where she doesn't need a man? She always has a nasty attitude. She doesn't know how to treat herself or treat others. She doesn't know how to do the necessary things that it would take to be a good wife. Are you raising your son to be a sissy? Because a sissy is not necessarily always a homosexual.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
A sissy is not always necessarily a homosexual. I was speaking with the client the other day, and she has her son, and it's just her and her son. I won't call her name, but I had to explain to her that her son has reached a stage in his life where he must take on his male role identity. And when a man takes on his male role identity, he distances himself from mother such that he becomes a man. Because if he doesn't distance himself, he's gonna be sissified. Right. Everything that you write about in your book is going to happen. But in that becoming a man, he has to transition. He has to transition from one phase where he can display feminine attributes, but he has to transition to become that masculine man that he wants to be. And everything that the boy would do masculine, the mother was popping him, stop that, stop that, stop that. And I had to explain to her that he's becoming a man. And I said, in the process of becoming a man, I said, if you don't have a man that's in his life, you need to find a group or an organization that have mentors who can help him, or mentees. And I said, you don't need, no disrespect, but you don't need the church. Because the church, a lot of times, over their men's group, I have seen guys who have been sissified. I ain't gonna say they homosexual, but you need a man to run a men's group. You need someone who has transitioned into manhood.
Absolutely.
And there are many of us who are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and still haven't transitioned to become a man. Because if you're out there and you have a son, you have a daughter, I want you to stand up and be a man. I want you to grab these guys' books. I want you to understand that within these books can be keys that can potentially help you.
Can be,
Because
will be.
Thank you. There will be keys to help you, because as you talk about transitional stress, as you talk about role reversal, are you in a relationship and your roles are reversed? Are you feeling dominated? Are you feeling underappreciated? Read Deshaun's book. Read Terry's book. Grab these books. Support local black writers. You understand? Because what we're going to do is, our next videos are going to be about surviving Trump as president. And what that series, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we survive. Because remember, integration was never about equality. Integration was about economics. It was about the black dollar. Because when they integrated society, all black businesses closed down, other than the black barbershop and the funeral homes. We still survived. But if I'm not correct, they told me in Maryland that Koreans are cutting hair out there down there. Yeah. They have Korean barbershops. And so all my barber brothers, I'm telling y'all better get on top of y'all game. Because not only are they controlling the inventory and the products that we use, but they're about to come actually take the labor piece from us. And so I have my brother Sidney in Maryland. He told me that he actually goes to a Korean barbershop. I think about $8 for a haircut. And that's why another thing, we got Lester Laboratories. I make my own products. So what you do is distance yourself from the Koreans, go online to www.itsagthing.com and purchase my products, become a wholesaler of Lester Laboratory products. We have the line L, Fitzgerald Lester, and Aja Nicole. And what we can do is we can give you a product that's designed by and made for you, and that you can exclusively control and put your clients on those products, so that now not only do you make money off of the labor part of the service, but you make off the maintenance and retail piece through the selling the products to them. And it's a product that you can control and you won't ever, never see in the Korean stores. So before we close it out, I would like to give everybody a little say. Terry, what would you like to say to our audience?
I definitely want you guys to go out and purchase the book. If you were a former athlete, a parent or an athlete, know someone that could benefit from it, go purchase it. Athlete Transition Stress, I'm telling you, it literally saves lives. It saved mine. Because before I really got into this, I was getting sick, literally. And when I went to the doctor, what they told me I didn't believe in. So I did some investigation, and a lot of it was getting this stuff out on paper. And I miraculously changed for the better.
Talk about the paper. I like what you said in the book about how you get it out. If you have no one to talk to, what you do with that paper.
Oh yeah, it's a spiritual component to this. It's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. I created a little term, which is called the 4 tanks. And if you envision 4 tanks, and you envision a tank with nothing in it, and then you envision a tank with something in it. One would be the mental, one would be the emotional, one would be the physical, and one would be the spiritual. As athletes, their physical tank is usually full, and that's what helps us to survive. But once that tank is low, now you don't have anything left, and you have to replenish those tanks. And so that's what that's about. That's an exercise that you can do right now, today. You start filling those tanks up. And when we talk about spirituality, we're not necessarily talking about church. Spirituality, it can be a lot of different things, whatever that fits what you're trying to do. And you fill those tanks up, you can't help but to grow and get better, mentally and physically. And thank you, G.
Well, listen, he didn't say the piece that I like, but what Terry said in his book, I'm not going to tell y'all everything because I want y'all to go out and buy the book, but I'm going to give you this little jewel from Terry. And what Terry said is that when you're in a situation and you're struggling and you have nobody to talk to, you write it down on a piece of paper. You take all of that stress out of your body, put it into a piece of paper, and then you get a match, light a flame to it, and you just watch it. You just burn it up, and at that point, you be done with it. And this things like that that's in that book that will give you a lot of coping mechanisms that are going to help you as you begin to fill those tanks. Now, Deshaun, your book. Now, like I said, my man book, I love Deshaun's book as well because, Deshaun touched on things, being a barber and just seeing so many young males coming in with mothers and the mothers not understanding the process in which a kid gets a haircut. How initially he's going to cry. You're bringing him to a stranger. He doesn't know this man, and you don't know the man. Had he come to the barbershop with his father, who would bring us unto his barber, he would see the camaraderie between the father and the barber. So immediately he feels comfortable with that. So Deshaun, give me a little rundown and a summation on your book, and just talk to the people.
What I like to say is wake up. That's what this book is about. Wake up. It touches on a lot of topics, as G said. At the very least, it's going to make you think. It's going to make you think about where you're at, what you're doing, where you need to go, where we need to go as a people, and it provide you some type of direction on your life. It's a thought-provoking book. That's what it is. It'll make you think. And again, it covers a lot of topics from Willie Lynch doctrine. That's what the basis of it is on, to single households by black women, to young men being raised by black women, to the relationships that we have with each other, a black woman and a black man, and to the repetitive cycle of destruction that we inflict upon ourselves. It's a great book, and I would tell you, if you got to buy a Christmas gift, give the gift of knowledge. Stop buying that stuff that you've been buying. It's not going to last. That book will last you a lifetime. You remember the things it said, you'll be talking about it, and you'll be able to plan a strategy for your life.
All right, well, definitely get my man Deshaun's book as well. We have probably 40 seconds left. I've got to get my man in, so, give the people a word of wisdom, man.
Let me say that back in St. Louis, I lectured with a circuit of brothers. And the lecture is about consciousness, in essence. But in essence, it's about God, man, and the universe, which is the most important thing in this life. Knowing that God, man, and the universe is all one and the same. We are all spiritually connected. We are all integrated, spiritually and consciously. We are all one.
Exactly. We are all one. And to make us successful, we are all one. We are all here with one common agenda, bringing success to the people. It makes no difference if you're black, white, red, blue, or green. We have some authors here with great books that are designed for everyone, because reading Terry's book will help you. Reading Deshaun's book will help you. It's going to help everybody, because the better we understand one another, the better we can get along, and better we can get over the hurdles that keep us separated as a people. So again, this is Barbershop Chronicles, and it's a G thing. I'm your host, Fitzgerald Lester. I want to thank my guests, Terry, Deshaun, and Ron, and we hope to see you soon.